sexual behavior on his part, and NBC News says they have evidence it was not an isolated incident. We'll have the full report for you tonight. The national spotlight on sexual harassment and the resulting loss of jobs and livelihoods that have followed, increasing pressure on Congress now to also hold congressmen and senators accountable for their sexual misbehavior. Our special guest tonight is a man who is working toward that very objective. Congressman Ron DeSantis, who today introduced legislation to expose taxpayer-funded sexual harassment settlements, to seek restitution of taxpayer money, and to eliminate altogether those congressional hush funds. Also tonight, an FBI informant set to testify on crooked Hillary Clinton's collusion with Russia. I'll be talking with the informant's attorney, Victoria Tansing, about the evidence that shows a pattern of Russian bribery, money laundering, and racketeering, all in support of Russian national strategic objectives, including the acquisition of uranium and the building of a web of influence in both American business and politics. And all the while, the Obama administration did nothing to frustrate those Russian targets. And the good news of the day, markets soaring as Congress moves closer to actually cutting our taxes. The Dow posting its 62nd record close of the year, closing some 60 points short of 24,000. Our top story tonight, the firing of former Today Show host Matt Lauer for sexual misconduct. It continues what has become a wave of allegations of sexual harassment against Hollywood, television, and media personalities and executives, and political figures as well. But on Capitol Hill, there's been only feckless attempts to deal with incidents of sexual harassment that have been swept under the carpet for decades. No accountability, no transparency, and taxpayers all the while footing the bill for slush funds, secret slush funds. To tell you how awful and how stupid the people are who create those laws, their answer to this point has been to pass legislation mandating a class on sexual harassment training for the very same people who will be writing laws on sexual harassment. The lawmakers, such as Senator Al Franken, who simply issued a public apology for groping women, Congressman John Conyers, caught using $27,000 of taxpayer money to resolve sexual harassment allegations. Despite reports today to the contrary, Conyers' attorney says the congressman has not made a decision on whether to seek re-election. And Raul Grijalva using $48,000 of taxpayer money to pay off a former top staffer who accused him of often being drunk and creating a hostile workplace, and congressional leaders, including Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, failing to act all the while. Ryan today addressed the Office of Compliance Treasury Slush Fund, $17 million of which was used to settle hundreds of sexual harassment and other complaints in Congress. Ryan still refusing to say whether Congress should make the names of members who've been involved in those sexual harassment settlements public.
Yeah, we don't know those names. We don't have this information. That's why he's reviewing the entire process. So we're waiting. He's doing hearings. We're waiting for the committee to review the entire process to see how this settlements issue needs to be addressed, reformed going forward. We don't want to make one-off decisions. We want to make a comprehensive review of the entire situation, and we do not get these names.
Speaker Ryan loves that word comprehensive, doesn't he? What simply is the issue here are the names of those people who have used that secret slush fund to settle these allegations of sexual harassment and use taxpayer money for such settlement. Straightforward. Hardly a need to be comprehensive, just complete and straightforward and honest and transparent, like a good government should. Well, one piece of legislation that addresses the problem introduced today by Congressman Ron DeSantis. The measure would make all taxpayer-funded settlements public. It would prohibit the use of taxpayer dollars to settle sexual harassment claims against a lawmaker or congressional staffer, and would require lawmakers named in the settlement to reimburse taxpayers. One provision to prohibit lawmakers from using their office budgets to conceal settlement payments would be dubbed the Conyers Rule. Joining me now, the lawmaker who today introduced the bill, Congressional Accountability and the Hush Fund Elimination Act, Congressman Ron DeSantis, member of several key committees, including Foreign Affairs, Judiciary, Oversight, a member of the Freedom Caucus. And Congressman, first of all, congratulations. You're as good as your word. You said you would be doing this, introducing that legislation this week, and you have done so. And I think that the American people, let alone the folks who your constituents, are grateful to you for doing so. So good to have you with us.
Well, it's good to be here, Lou. I mean, just think about it. We have this issue, as you mentioned, with Matt Lauer, celebrities, other places. In the Congress right now, you actually have a system set up which tells potential perpetrators, hey, if you go ahead and harass somebody and you're guilty, the taxpayer will go ahead and clean up after you and pay for your damages. And guess what? We'll keep it secret so nobody will know about it. Well, what kind of a behavior are you trying to promote there? So we need to rip this system out root and branch. We need to expose the people who have violated the taxpayers' trust by using their dollars to shield their own misconduct, and we need to do it quick. And the thing is, Lou, this is a big bipartisan bill. You have people on both sides of the aisle who are fed up with this, so I think the momentum is with us, and it's just a matter of time. But I don't think we're going to be able to have the leadership say, oh, we got to hold a hearing or this or that. No, we need exposure now.
And you heard the Speaker say that we had to have a comprehensive solution here. There had to be a careful accounting in order to reveal those names and the amounts of money that were paid out, taxpayer money. And the Speaker acted with indifference and ambiguity as to the course he wants to follow, while you're putting forward legislation that is specific and direct and will correct the problem. Has he given you assurances that he will put every energy behind your legislation?
He's not, but in fairness, I haven't had a chance to brief him on it. We were working on the language. Thanksgiving was hard to do it, and so when we got back, we've been working on the language. We got 26 co-sponsors in like 5 hours today. So we just dropped the bill today, and I'm definitely going to talk with them about it. I think that the public clearly wants this done. So I'm actually optimistic that we're going to be able to do it. But Lou, I mean, you have a right as a taxpayer to know how your money is being spent. The government can't have secret pots of spending money that they just dole out and taxpayers have no right to see that. That is just completely unacceptable.
Congressman, did you know that such slush funds were available to you? Because I have to tell you, I did not know that they existed.
And here's the reason why. I researched it. It doesn't come up in our budget. It doesn't come up in the appropriations bills. What Congress does is they do a permanent appropriation. So they do one law and they say there's a pot of money there. Whenever you need it, go for it. So you can't even really defund it with the budget process because the money exists outside of the budget process. So there's no accountability, no oversight. So we got to eliminate all those secret funds for a variety of reasons. You know, Mueller, you and I have talked about the Mueller investigation.
Yes, we have.
He's using one of these permanent funds to fund his investigation. They're not funding it through the DOJ like they should do it. So that makes it harder for us to circumscribe the funding.
Well, wait a minute. The Justice Department is supposed to be the responsible department here with oversight of the special counsel.
They are. But
well, if they're not providing the money, they're sure to hell not.
Well, he has his own pot of money. What that means is that the Congress, we can't just defund it in a normal appropriations bill. We'd have to pass a special law. So there's a problem with these slush funds generally. I've asked my staff to research all slush funds that are out there across the government so that we can provide that information to the taxpayer and then close these funds down, because the only money government should be spending is the money that we are voting on as representatives every year during the appropriations process. It's transparent. You'll know where your money's going, and you don't have to worry about these secret hush funds.
You couldn't be more correct. And the American taxpayer couldn't be more misinformed, uninformed than we are right now, because I had no idea that that is the way both the special counsel was being funded and these slush funds were in existence and being used so energetically by those who are trying to hide from the taxpayer, hide from accountability, and responsibility for their actions.
Well, and then you have the Conyers rule that we were trying to implement, where he's using his office budget, but he's camouflaging the settlement payment and saying that it's just an employee salary. So if you're his constituent, you look at how he's managing his office, you see, oh, he paid this woman for 4 months of employment. That wasn't what happened. He did it that way to hide the fact that it was a harassment settlement. So that's a gross abuse of taxpayer dollars as well, and that is even separate and apart from these slush funds.
You know, it's just stunning to think that Speaker Ryan, Majority Leader McConnell, have not already taken steps. Instead of talking about a class on sexual harassment for the people who are writing laws about sexual harassment. I mean, are you kidding me? How dumb do they think the American people are? Well, they've gotten away with it to this point, so maybe they've got an argument that is far stronger on their side than I have. That is, I believe the American people are too smart to be treated this way, and we sure as hell need leaders who, like you, treat us with the respect we deserve and make the government transparent, open.
No, absolutely. And here's the thing. It'd be wrong for one of the leaders to try to protect some of these members who've had settlements, because when you're trying to protect them, what you're doing is you're harming all the other members who are behaving honestly, but the public's going to say, hey, the whole thing stinks, we think you're all bums. So the way you really defend your members is to insist on transparency so that there are some bums, they can go away to the buffalo, but then the rest of us can actually continue trying to drain this swamp. And we know that this thing needs to be drained.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I imagine that the first 15 minutes of that class that the leadership would have you attend, all of the members of Congress and the Senate, it would be 15 minutes on slush funds and their importance to the sustainability of the office that you've been elected to. I mean, it's outrageous what they're doing here. And I don't believe the American people are going to be patient. This is legislation that should be, in my judgment, passed and signed by the president before Christmas break. What do you think?
Yeah, I hope so. The people want it. Every indication I have from the White House is that the president is supportive of this.
Oh, absolutely.
I would like to brief him on it as soon as possible, and I'd love to get President Trump's support for what we're trying to do, because I think that could make all the difference and really put the House in a position where we have to act because the president's pushing for it and the public wants it.
Well, the House has acted and is doing so somewhat quicker than I thought they would. The Senate as well. Looks like we may have tax reform after all. Congressman, we're out of time. I am so delighted you joined us. And again, congratulations and thanks for doing what you're doing.
Thanks for supporting the effort, Lou.
Yes, sir. Congressman Ron DeSantis. We're coming right back with much more. Stay with us. President Trump working hard to push historic tax cuts across the finish line.
If we do this, then America will win again like never, ever before. A vote to cut taxes is a vote to put America first again.
Can the Senate follow through? We take that up here tonight. And congressional investigators now accuse the Department of Justice and FBI of withholding information about the discredited Trump dossier and how it was used. Did Obama justice officials rely on that dossier to justify spying on Trump campaign officials? We'll have the full report on that here next. Stay with us.
On the next Kennedy Senate Republican.
Congressional investigators have spent the past 8 months trying to uncover the truth behind the discredited Trump dossier. But officials in the deep state, the Department of Justice, and the FBI have not been forthcoming. What are they hiding and why? Now House investigators are demanding that both the Justice Department and FBI be held accountable. Fox News Chief Washington correspondent James Rosen with our report.
In an internal House memo obtained by Fox News, a senior counsel for the House Intelligence Committee urged Republican Chairman Devin Nunes almost 3 weeks ago to pursue contempt of Congress citations against the Department of Justice and the FBI. Congressional investigators accuse those agencies of withholding key documents and an FBI witness that could shed light on whether U.S. officials under President Obama relied on the infamous anti-Trump dossier to justify surveillance against associates of Donald Trump.
We're trying to work with DOJ and the FBI. We hope that they will comply, but if they don't, they leave us very few options. We sent subpoenas out in June, July, and August that still haven't been complied with, so I think stonewalling would be putting it lightly.
The dossier is the compendium of salacious and mostly unverified allegations about then-candidate Trump and others on his campaign that was compiled last year by the opposition research firm Fusion GPS and based in part on Russian sourcing. Bank records obtained by the Nunes panel revealed that the dossier was funded by the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee.
It was a group of opponents that got together, sick people, and they put that crap together.
GOP lawmakers have spent 8 months, including issuing a subpoena on August 24, probing whether then FBI Director James Comey and other officials who received the dossier in July 2016 used it to place surveillance on Trump associates.
Are you investigating the claims made in the dossier?
Not going to comment on that, Mr. Castro.
What are you guys doing here?
House Speaker Paul Ryan, who was briefed this week on the panel's probe, is said to be working behind the scenes to advance the case, following stern public comments last month.
We've had these document requests with the administration and the FBI in particular for a long time, and they've been stonewalling.
Nunes' counsel wrote, after 8 months of ongoing verbal, written, and subpoenaed requests and engagement by committee and House leadership at the highest levels, DOJ FBI continues to impede the committee's legitimate investigative efforts and hinders the committee's ability to conduct effective oversight. Staff therefore recommends further congressional compliance actions, a phrase sources said was code for contempt citations. The Justice Department told Fox News it has been very cooperative with the Nunes panel, consistent with national security and law enforcement responsibilities. Separately, on the alleged Trump-Kremlin collusion angle, Fox News has confirmed, as first disclosed by CNN, that the House panel expects to meet soon with Donald Trump Jr., our sources saying December 6. Lou?
James, thank you very much. James Rosen. Well, be sure to vote in tonight's poll. Our question, do you believe any congressperson or senator who doesn't vote to dissolve all slush funds and make them illegal should be defeated at the polls? We'd like to hear from you, as always, on the question of the night. Cast your vote on Twitter at Lou Dobbs. Follow me on Twitter at Lou Dobbs. Like me on Facebook and Instagram. Follow me there at Lou Dobbs Tonight. On Wall Street, stocks closed mixed, but quite a day. The Dow up 104 points, closing at yet another record high. The S&P down a fraction, the Nasdaq down 88 points. Volume on the big board, 4 billion shares. And President Trump delivering on his economic promises. The economy expanded 3.3% in the third quarter, the strongest quarter in 3 years. And pending home sales up 3.5% in October, the biggest gain in 8 months. A reminder to listen to my reports 3 times a day, coast to coast, on the Salem Radio Network. Up next, an FBI informant has evidence of Russian bribery, kickbacks, money laundering, racketeering, all tied to Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration. His attorney, Victoria Tunzing, joins us here next. Stay with us. We'll be right back. FBI informant William Campbell spent 6 years undercover. He gathered evidence about Russian efforts to corner the American uranium market with the help of Hillary Clinton. But he wasn't allowed to talk about it until late last month when President Trump ordered the Justice Department to lift a gag order against him. Here to talk about what Campbell, her client, could tell us before he does go before Congress and when that testimony might occur, Campbell's attorney, Victoria Tunzing of the Genova and Tunzing. Victoria previously worked in the Reagan Justice Department and is one of the great Americans. Good to see you.
Oh, good to be here, Lou.
Let's start with the frustrating delay, if I may put it that way, that Congress is experiencing, that we all who are following this very important case and story. Why has there been such a delay? The Justice Department, at the president's order, lifted the gag order, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Why is he not talking to Congress?
Well, because he has to talk to me first, Lou. Look, preparing a major witness under ordinary circumstances is just a Herculean task for a lawyer. You know, I have to go from not knowing anything about the case, which is where I was in September, to knowing everything about the case. And as you said, 6 years, over 5,000 documents, that's a lot to digest. And then you have to get the witness so that the facts are organized in his mind so that he can efficiently answer questions. But in this case, we have an extra challenge, and that is that Mr. Campbell was diagnosed in October of 2016 with leukemia. But this was his second cancer diagnosis in 7 years, and he truly thought, Lou, that he was going to die. And the reason he reached out to provide this information is he said he did not want to go to his grave knowing this story and not having it told.
You know, and we all hope, irrespective of the circumstances on Capitol Hill, that that Mr. Campbell has a speedy, successful recovery in that disease. What is a realistic time to imagine that he would be able to speak to Congress directly and personally?
Well, let me tell you where we are. Fortunately, he was through with his chemotherapy treatment several weeks ago, and he's now on chemotherapy pills, which are still debilitating and make him so that he's not able to work for long hours. But he did get his doctor's permission to come to Washington a week ago, and I worked with him for several days, and we went over documents, and I'm now just about ready to put the finishing touches on a 10-page overview of a statement for him so that I can give it to Chairman Grassley, and they can get an idea of what to question him about. Because, you know, you can't go in and pick in the poke. They don't even know where to start asking questions. So I have to provide them something that's detailed enough that they know how to ask questions.
Devin Nunes, the chair of the House Intelligence Committee, obviously frustrated immensely with the Department of Justice and the FBI on a host of issues. And this is a Republican administration with a Republican Justice Department and new leadership in the FBI. And I have the feeling this is the same group of people who were there for 8 years under President Obama. Am I misreading the situation?
It's been amazing to me. It's my old home. I thought I understood it, and I thought under President Obama, okay, well, I know who's leading it. But some of the stonewalling here has been quite perplexing to me, and they haven't gotten out their message as to why some of it's going on. I just don't know.
We do know one thing. It's not helpful. It is also not respectful of the American public's right to know. It is also important that, to the degree we all want to know what's going on. You have looked at the material. You've talked with Mr. Campbell. Give us a sense of how, in your judgment, how important what he has to say, how important those documents are to put before the Congress, and what you expect in terms of impact.
Lou, there were two things going on, and that was that the Russians, Putin wanted to just gain global control of the uranium industry. Mr. Campbell provided documents and memos and all kinds of information to the FBI counterintelligence about that. The other thing going on was how corrupt the Russian nuclear energy industry was. I mean, these companies are all related. They might have different names, but, you know, they all report up the ladder to Putin, every one of them. And so knowing these two things, that the companies were corrupt and that Putin wanted to corner the market on uranium, our government in 2010, that's knowing this for over a year, decided that it would be a good idea to sell to this corrupt Russian company, a company that had 20% of our uranium. It just boggles the mind.
It boggles the mind, but it also makes it appear very clearly, as I've researched this case, looked at what CFIUS did and the various agencies that make it up and departments, it was, I guess the only way to say it is they had an easy pass to the result that obviously the President of the United States wanted, or the Secretary of State, or Vladimir Putin. If there is a clear case of collusion between the Russians and the U.S. government, it is that case, in my opinion.
Oh, well, but remember, Lou, this was 2009, 2010.
Right.
And where were we? We were in reset. And we were with President Obama, who thought that if he was just really nice to people, they'd really be nice to him back. And he was going to change the world. You know, Putin was going to be his puppet. Yeah. Didn't quite work out that way.
Not much of his, at least expressed opinions about foreign policy did work out, did they? Victoria, it's great to have you with us. We thank you.
Thank you.
We hope that Mr. Campbell is on his way to a successful and...
we do, and say your prayers for him.
Absolutely. And we look forward to his appearance. Thank you, and yours. We're coming right back with much more. Stay with us. Another left-wing media icon accused of sexual harassment, and Matt Lauer fired as a result. We'll have the full report right here tonight. And most skydivers and wingsuiters jump out of aircraft to start their flights. We'll introduce you to two men who do just the opposite. We'll show you the stunning video of their amazing stunt over Switzerland here next. Stay with us. We're coming right back. Three women tonight coming forward with allegations of sexual misconduct against fired NBC morning anchor, Today Show host Matt Lauer. Fox News media analyst Howard Kurtz has our report.
That was Matt Lauer's last appearance in the Today anchor chair, nearly 2 decades after he joined the lucrative morning show. In just over 36 hours after an unnamed female employee told management about misconduct that the network says began at the 2014 Winter Olympics, NBC News chairman Andy Lack said he was terminating Lauer after a detailed complaint from a colleague about inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace, and that we were also presented with reason to believe this may not have been an isolated incident.
All we can say is that we are heartbroken. I'm heartbroken for Matt. He is my dear, dear friend and my partner, and he is beloved by many, many people here. And I'm heartbroken for the brave colleague who came forward to tell her story, and any other women who have their own stories to tell.
Lauer, who's made no public comment, has been a franchise player at NBC and at roughly $25 million a year, the highest paid anchor, with a series of female co-hosts, whether he's interviewing presidents, hosting the Thanksgiving parade, or circling the globe. But NBC moved quickly to preempt inquiries by such outlets as the New York Times, which interviewed the unidentified NBC staffer off the record on Monday. The woman's lawyer said he was encouraged by NBC's quick response and in awe of the courage my client showed to be the first to raise a complaint. Lauer's firing comes the week after CBS ousted Charlie Rose from its morning show after allegations of sexual misconduct by 8 women, which, of course, was covered by Today.
Let's turn now to the growing controversy surrounding broadcaster and journalist Charlie Rose.
President Trump, whose Apprentice show aired on NBC, used the Lauer news to suggest that network executives be fired, including MSNBC President Phil Griffin, and tweeted this bit of innuendo: check out Andy Lack's past. He even wrote of NBC's morning host, will they terminate low ratings Joe Scarborough based on the unsolved mystery that took place in Florida years ago? Investigate. That's based on a discredited conspiracy theory about the 2001 death from natural causes of an intern in Scarborough's Florida office when he was a congressman. Also today, Minnesota Public Radio terminated Garrison Keillor, quote, after recently learning of allegations of his inappropriate behavior with an individual who worked with him. The former Prairie Home companion host said he apologized for patting a woman on the back and inadvertently touching her bare skin. Another media icon ousted. Lou?
Howard, thank you very much. Howard Kurtz. Well, from media now to politics, an Obama-appointed inspector general is now speaking out about the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, saying Democratic officials tried to hinder that investigation and they threatened him with full-on retaliation. Fox News Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge with our report.
With more than 2 decades of government service, the Obama administration nominated Charles McCullough Inspector General for the 17 intelligence agencies.
If you don't have your independence, you have nothing.
Few people know more about the classified Clinton emails and the fallout.
All of a sudden, people started talking about how independent I was and how wonderful that I was independent.
That independence was tested in 2015 after the intelligence agencies found their classified information in the Clinton emails. As word spread, McCullough went to senior officials, including Director of National Intelligence James Clapper.
He said, this is extremely reckless. And he mentioned something about the campaign will have heartburn.
Did you tell the CIA Director John Brennan that there was classified information?
Oh, he already knew. It wasn't me who told him what was happening. He'd already been well briefed on it.
After 2 emails sent by Clinton aides that contained classified information kick-started the FBI probe, government records show a senior State Department official who worked for Secretary Clinton allegedly pressed the FBI to downgrade the classification as part of a quid pro quo.
Is that how the government's supposed to operate?
No, classification is not negotiable.
By February 2016, campaign emails released via WikiLeaks suggest Clinton's lawyer and a senior congressional staffer shared information to target McCullough.
But I think there was certainly a coordinated strategy. In fact, I not only think it, I think it very, very much so.
A former Clinton campaign spokesman did not return Fox's calls, but in a tweet did not dispute the claims and tried to cast doubt on McCullough's credibility. Fox News also asked about this March 2016 letter from 7 senior Democrats, including Senator Dianne Feinstein. It said they had serious concerns about the Clinton email review. Feinstein's office wanted McCullough to respond. The incident turned into a standoff 6 weeks before the election.
And I flat out told the staff director I was not going to respond to it. I said, tell her I'll resign tonight.
Senator Feinstein's office did not respond to Fox's questions about McCullough and whether there was a coordinated effort to undermine his office. On Capitol Hill, Senator Feinstein told the Daily Caller website she had no idea what McCullough was talking about. Lou?
Catherine, thank you very much. Catherine Harris reporting. Please roll the video and watch as this high-flying duo leap off a mountain, the Swiss Alps there, before flying one by one into flying into a moving Pilatus Porter aircraft. The team spent months preparing and completed more than 100 test flights before